Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lead Full Circle. My name is Graham Adderholt, and it is February 2026. And when you usually hear the month of February, one thing that probably comes to your mind is Valentine's Day and the word love. And I think about love and appreciation within this month. So when you hear leadership and love, how does that go hand in hand? And some things just initially to throw out there when you think about love and leadership, love is intentional, love is courageous. And love shows up when it's easier actually to be silent. And that's what I really want to talk through today. These past few weeks as a principal, I've dealt with some situations that I want to talk through today. And I think that's a big part of why I do and put out this information for Lead Full Circles is to things that I experience and I deal with as a principal. I think we can all relate to and pull from, good or bad, and apply it to your leadership level. So the episode of today is called Loving the Program More Than the Past. And as we talk through this, that title will make more sense. And another thing I want to say before I dive into a story I'm going to start with is this: love leads forward with clarity. As a leader, you've got to take the step forward to lead forward, to move forward, but to also at the same time provide clarity. I think as leaders, one of the hardest things we deal with is when those tensions come up, those situations that are very difficult to deal with. And a lot of times we don't know how to name it, how to deal with it, how to handle it right there in the moment. Maybe in that moment, you're trying to move forward in a positive direction and in a positive way, but someone or something is still standing in what used to be. And that's what makes it hard sometimes for leaders to push forward and to lead forward with clarity. So recently, I felt this tension when I was trying to build positive momentum, a positive message around our football program, which I thought was so important in the times that we were in as a school and as our football program. But, you know, when you're a coach, you invest a ton of time, a ton of energy, a ton of resources into the school, into that football program, into that athletic program. Sometimes you spend more time with the kids and the coaches than you do your own family. It's just there's a lot of sacrifices you put forth as a head coach. So anytime that there is change, whether it's just a retirement, whether it's a change for other reasons, but anytime there's a change in the head coach, it's always difficult to move forward at times, because anytime someone says something in a positive expression about moving forward, it's almost very personal for that coach because they've invested so much time in the past. So a lot of times to those coaches that there's a change there, sometimes change doesn't feel like progress. It may feel like rejection. And that is what I was struggling with as a leader, as far as how can I get that message out there about building a positive message around our football program moving forward when there was a change in our head coach. But here's something I really had to battle when I was trying to figure this out. This was not about erasing the past. It was about refusing to live in it. The easy thing to do would have been to avoid those awkward conversations, to tippy-toe around trying to build a positive message, just to remain silent almost, so everybody's comfortable and there's no feelings, because there's so many positive, strong relationships you build over the years between an administrator and a coach. So anytime that there is a change, it's hard to move forward sometimes. It's not about erasing the past. It's about refusing to live in it. Loving the program, the football program at that time, means leading it forward, even if it's uncomfortable for someone else. And here's the big idea around that story that will set us up here for the next few minutes. Love does not freeze progress. Like I said earlier, love allows you to lead forward with clarity. So whether you're leading a program, leading a staff, leading a business, an organization, leading your family, what you cannot do is avoid those hard conversations. You can't delay clarity. You can't just keep things comfortable. So I said just a second ago, it's about honoring the past without living in it, without living there. And I struggled with that. It was a hard stance to take when we really tried to send out positive messages, positive information around our football program, because I did not want our former head coach to take that personal. But here's how I had to really start looking at it to make sure I was doing the right thing by building up our football program, by sending positive messages around our community about the direction of our football program. It's not a rejection of what was, it's the responsibility of what's next. And that lies on my shoulder. That lies on your shoulder as a leader in a group that you may be leading. It's not, again, a rejection of what was. It's the responsibility of what's coming next. And here's something I think is so important, just another step on what I just mentioned. If we love the mission, if we know our purpose and we love the mission, we cannot cling to memories. We must steward, we must guide what comes next. Don't let the memories distract us and keep us from leading forward with clarity. We can't cling to the memories. We've got to guide what comes next as a leader. So as we transition just a little bit in a different topic within this episode, love requires clear conversations. This is one of the hardest parts of my job. These are things that I have struggled with in the past. I'm still working on, but as I've grown, I really see the importance of this. These past 2 to 3 weeks, I've had to have a couple different hard conversations. And why are they hard conversations to begin with? They're hard conversations because we care about those individuals. We have a relationship that we don't want to break with those individuals. You know, the temptations there about the hard conversations is, let's just wait. It'll fix itself. I don't want to hurt the relationship. But the honest truth about this is, if you wait and you don't have those hard conversations, over time, it weakens the relationship. I said this several episodes ago, and it's so true. What we allow, we endorse. So if we allow these things to continue to take place and we don't address it, then we're endorsing it and saying it's okay. So when I have these hard conversations, as I've grown and hopefully starting to get better at this area in my leadership, one thing I think about are 3 C's, and then I'm going to talk about these specific examples here in just a second. But the 3 C's as far as how to approach a hard conversation is this. First, care. The individual needs to know that they matter and that they are valued. And at the end of the day, you wouldn't have this conversation with them if they didn't value, if they didn't matter to you and to your team. The second C, clarity. When you have these hard conversations, you have to be very transparent and very clear of what's not working. Don't tippy-toe around that. You've got to hit it head on and explain to that individual of what's not working. So provide clarity. And the third C, commitment. So here's what's not working, but here's what we're going to commit to moving forward to fix what we've talked through. So care, clarity, and commitment. So these past couple of weeks, I've had to have a couple different, very hard conversations. And I believe as leaders, we have to set expectations that when you show up to work every day, here's the expectation. And it's pretty simple for me. Do the right thing and work hard. If you're working hard, you're putting forth effort every day, and you're doing the right thing for our kids, then everything else will take care of itself. But for each of these individuals I've met with over the past couple of weeks, I've had to really slow down before I had those conversations. You know, at times when emotions are high, you may want to jump right into a conversation. Now, again, I just said you don't want to delay this and avoid it, but if you can take 24 to 48 hours before you have a hard conversation, for me, that's very important because it allows me to get my thoughts in order. How do I want to start this conversation? How do I want to approach this conversation? Let's make sure I've got all the facts in order. I don't want to jump to conclusions. So if you can take a little bit of a window, 24, 48 hours to make sure you've got your thoughts in order and how you're going to address that individual, that's a big deal. Also, in these hard conversations, always have a witness with you. So words can never be twisted or turned against you. That's something that I've always been given advice about. And that's something I think is very important when you do have those hard conversations. Another important point is don't lead in these situations in isolation. I think we all have a very small circle of people that we trust and that we lean on to talk through in certain situations. So before you have to have that conversation, if you have time, go to your small influence, that your circle of influence that you truly 100% trust, and talk through those situations, because you may be given some advice that maybe you didn't think about from your angle, but that really helps you prep and even plan even more so for that conversation that's coming up. I do want to say this too, as an assistant principal a few years ago, we always learn what to do and what not to do. And I learned in one specific setting what not to do. Now, it was behind closed doors, but the principal at the time that I was working for as an assistant principal, I've never heard someone lash out at another employee like this principal did. And I never want to have those type of conversations with people I work with. I think that's the importance of having a strong foundation in your relationship with people beforehand. You can sit down and have an adult conversation without getting loud, without yelling, without embarrassing them. You want to be able to have a very strong stance, but at the same time, be respectful in that conversation. Don't ruin the relationship and how you lash out at them. That is doing no good. You can get, for me, I believe you can get the same message across without lashing out at somebody, especially when it's behind closed doors. So I hate I had to witness that, but I'm also glad I got to at the same time, because I learned what not to do. I never want to intentionally lash out at somebody because they may have messed up. Let's talk through it. Yes, we're going to hold you accountable. Here's the expectations. Let's not do it again. Let's make the adjustments. Let's get better and move forward. That's what it's all about as leaders. Talking through it, having those hard conversations with the 3 C's: care, clarity, and commitment. So now that's where this really just stopped about being just work for me when we talk about these hard conversations and leading and with love and clarity and moving forward. Sometimes the same instincts I use at school with this, unfortunately, I may leave out of our home conversations, and that's not something I need to do as a leader of our home. I realized that here recently with Caroline. We've got Slater, a 3-month-old baby, and he takes a lot of our time and energy, and it's a interesting dynamic within our home right now. We love it, but it's tiring. And I'm saying all that to say we can't let go of holding Caroline to a standard, because we've shifted a lot of our focus and our attention and energy on Slater right now, and we're tired at times. So if there's a moment where she needs to be corrected or disciplined, we cannot just let it go because of something else distracting us from holding her to a certain standard and expectation within our home. And that's happened to me here recently. And just being very transparent, as I was working through this episode, looking back on it, I don't know if I'd have taken the step forward that I did to correct her if I wouldn't have been talking through this and thinking through this episode myself. So it was a really slap in the face to me as a dad to make sure I don't avoid those hard conversations with my kids, with Caroline, when those moments come up. Don't tippy-toe around it. Don't just not do it because everything's comfortable with that. Make sure we continue to have those hard conversations, and we hold those in our home to a standard as well. One thing I always try to do, though, with Caroline is when I do get on to her, when I do discipline her, I will come off pretty strong at first, but I always try to make a point to circle back around to her and come off in a more soft, gentle side, and to make sure I always tell her I love her. But that's so important, I think, within your home and family to have that type of conversation those tough conversations, to not avoid them. So the 3 C's apply to there as well: care, clarity, and commitment. So now, bringing this all together as we get ready to close, whether you're leading a football program, whether you're leading a team, a staff, a school, a business, leading your family, the principle is the same. Loving leadership does not cling to the past or avoid the hard moments, avoid the hard conversation. It honors people by leading forward with clarity. Love in those moments says, I care enough about you to be honest with you. I value enough to be clear, and I believe in you enough to expect more. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, February is about love and appreciation, but real appreciation is not passive. Love is intentional. Love is courageous in those moments, those tough moments, those hard conversations, and it shows up when it's easier to be silent. So my last thought is this: if you're avoiding a hard conversation because you care, that might be the exact reason you need to have it. I really hope you're able to pull some leadership principles, takeaways from this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Continue to subscribe and like on my YouTube channel. You can also now listen to every episode on Spotify, so be looking for that information. But thank you again for tuning in and watching Lead Full Circle. Continue to lead well at work and even better at home. I'll see you next time.